All right, you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days? Yeah, I bet. Who doesn't? You want to do it and you want it to be extremely easy. Of course. I can do this, I can make this happen, I can even show you, but the reality is, you know you, and I have a feeling I know you too. But anyway, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Let's do this.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit one of my favorite YouTubers of all time. Meet Austin Williams. This guy will show you how to go from totally flat broke to having money like you wouldn't believe. And his advice is simple, down to earth, and always makes sense. He does so many videos where he shows you multiple ways to save money, how to make your money go further, and he's just going to be one of your favorite YouTubers as well. I promise. So, with that being said, today's video is about how to manage your money so you never go broke. And believe me when I tell you, 10-minute videos from Austin Williams are pure gold. So, I'm going to pause my voice. Let's hear what Austin has to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, if you give me 10 to 15 minutes of your time today, I can show you how to manage your money so you will never go broke again. If you can pause what you're doing out of your busy schedule and just give me your attention, I can show you how to manage your money so you will never have to worry about your car breaking down, paying bills on time, or losing your job. And I'm not even going to ask you anything in exchange. So here is my 5-step plan to managing your money so you will never go broke again. Step 1. Understand exactly why people are living paycheck to paycheck. I want to start this video off just by saying that money isn't random. It isn't evil. It's not out to get you. Money is just basic math. And I am sure that you understand basic math. So I just want to start by getting you to understand exactly why people are living paycheck to paycheck, because it's so simple. Now, 99% of people in this world will trade their knowledge, skills, and labor at a job in exchange for a paycheck. Then they use that paycheck for the first round of spending on big payments like bills, rent, and groceries. And after that, there's a much smaller amount of money left over. That smaller amount of money goes through a second round of spending on extra things like Amazon, eating out, and ice cream. And after all that spending, there is no money left over, so they have to do it over again. Work, make money, first round of spending, smaller amount of money, second round of spending, no money. Over and over, most people live their lives this way. Most people don't understand that this is not a sustainable way to live because, for example, what happens if you lose your job? Well, money stops coming in and the entire thing collapses. And even if you have a tenured job where you think you never have to worry about losing your job, it's just a vicious circle where things never get easier and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You can't live your life this way. This is just existing. It is not living. You need to get out of this way of thinking and develop a more sustainable plan. So now I want to talk about exactly how to develop that plan. And let's start with the basics. Step 2, adopt a frugal mindset. One thing that I preach over and over again in my channel is that being frugal is not about pinching pennies and depriving yourself, but frugality is managing your money in a way where you're not depriving yourself nor wasting anything. Most people could save so much money and create a much more sustainable lifestyle if they just adopted frugal habits and cut their wasteful spending. So let's go back to the chart I just showed you and adopt some frugal habits and see how it changes the flow. So just like before, they work, make money, but now they've adopted more frugal mindset and they choose to move to a smaller house where they don't have a bunch of extra space. They get a cheaper car with a smaller payment and they take steps to lower some of their bills. Well, because they did that, they now have more money left over in the second round. So they use their superhuman frugal habits and cut out wasteful spending on the smaller expenses, like stop eating out so much, cut down their Amazon shopping, and only get ice cream 3 times a week. And in the end, they have some money left over. You see how much of an impact the tiny decision of being frugal and cutting wasteful spending made on the flow? Because they were making intentional decisions to lower their expenses at the end of this cycle, they even had a little bit of money left over before the next paycheck. And this step alone isn't going to change your life, but it's a good place to start. It's the first step in getting out of the paycheck to paycheck life. So now that we talked about this basic thing, let's go in a little bit more detail and move on to the third step.
So, Austin, before we get on to the third step, buddy, none of my viewers want to give up their ice cream. So we're already having trouble with this first step or two here.
Step 3. Begin establishing the emergency fund. All right. Although you adopted some frugal habits that made you in a better financial position, you can't just depend on frugality in order to have a healthy relationship with money. You have to develop a plan where you're not one paycheck away from catastrophic disaster like 58% of Americans are. So let's go back to the chart, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Now, just like before, you work, make money, but this time, before you start the first round of spending, take a small amount of money out, whatever you can afford, and put it in a savings account. This is called paying yourself first, and we're going to put it towards the emergency fund. And you need to do this, to set aside a specific amount of money every single paycheck for this emergency fund. Because what happens if your car breaks down or you lose your job? You're going to need some money. And Santa Claus, he ain't coming to town.
So before I ever met Austin Williams, I was already well on the road to minimalism. Where I'm a little different than Austin is I use the money that I save and I take a percentage out of that, and then I still shop, but instead of weekly for goofy stuff, I might shop monthly. You might say to yourself, Jesse, I know that we should save 25 to 50 to maybe even $100 out of each paycheck, but it's so slow going, and I agree. It takes a little while for momentum to raise up. Now, with that being said, I know some people are already well upside down financially. So I don't want to belittle what you're going through, but let's be honest. We have to start somewhere. And where a lot of financial gurus are always talking about how to invest your money instead of savings, Austin is totally different. He's going to help you get control of your life $1 at a time. And again, if you watch Austin Williams, you're going to love it because the guy is a YouTuber that has the ability to help you change your life. Keep going, Austin. Tell us more.
So you put the money in the emergency fund and you never use it unless there's emergency. Got it? All right, back to the chart. You work, make money, pay yourself first, then do the rest. And over time, slowly, if you are consistent, this will grow. And ideally, the rule of thumb is this should be 6 to 12 months of living expenses. In case you lose your job or something expensive comes up, you have the money ready. And because you did this simple thing, imagine if you suddenly lose your job. Well, because you have this emergency fund, you can just take money out of that in the meantime to pay your bills until you get a new job. And so at this point, you're no longer 100% reliant on a paycheck. You have this emergency fund to use in case something goes bad. And so you're slowly breaking out of this paycheck to paycheck life and developing a more sustainable way to live. You're no Elon Musk, but you're getting there. So now let's keep moving and move on to the fourth step. Step 4, begin getting your money to work for you. Now, once you reach enough money in your emergency fund to cover 6 to 12 months of living expenses, you're done. Congratulations, you don't need to add any more money into that because of a little thing called inflation. And you probably have heard of this before, but for some reason, over time, the price of a Big Mac just keeps going up. There ain't no dollar menu anymore. And I don't know why this is. Maybe greed, maybe selfishness, maybe corporate welfare. I am no economist, but this thing just happens over time. But once you finish your emergency fund, you start to get your money to work for you. You get your money to make you more money. And you do that by opening a brokerage account and investing in something called index funds. And I made a step-by-step video up here on how to do that. But let's go back to the chart and let me show you exactly how this works. You work, you make money, and since your emergency fund is complete, you stop putting money in it. Instead, you begin putting the money into an investment account into the stock market. Then over time, that money will make more money. But the thing about making money from this is that when you make money, you don't spend it. You just let it keep growing and keep making you money without you doing anything.
Now, wait a minute, Jesse. You just told us Austin wasn't going to try to get us to invest any money. Guys, index funds are a little bit different. If you watch some videos on Vanguard index funds or Fidelity index funds, you're going to find out, and especially if you watch some Warren Buffett videos on index funds, you're going to find out that your index funds actually, over the course of time, do better than basically every financial guru on the planet, okay? And you can teach yourself and learn by doing what you do best, watching YouTube videos about it. Vanguard has their own YouTube channel. I would recommend checking out some of their videos on how to start investing in your own index fund for your retirement. But keep in mind what Austin said first. You have to get used to paying yourself, saving money, getting 6 to 12 months worth of income up. So even if you never get to the point where you're investing in those scary index funds, right? You can still get to the point where you're never really in immediate danger. Does that mean that you won't be unemployed for 6 to 12 months and go broke anyway? Well, there's always a worst case scenario, right? But the truth is, you want to go into a worst case scenario with a chance. And the best way you'll have a chance is if you have some money saved up. And the only way to do that is to cut through the excuses and start finding a way to pay yourself 25 to $100 a week out of your paycheck. Jesse, that's just not possible. Guys, everything's possible. You just have to put pen to paper and find a way. And even if you can only save 10 or 15 bucks a week, do the math. That's still going to be 500 to 750 bucks at the end of the year that can help you get out of a small emergency with your car so you don't have to lose work or lose any additional funding. And once you start getting to the point where you can save $1,000 a year, your brain is going to naturally find a way to baby step that up so that you become even better at it. And remember, the reason I want you to save money is because if you can get one stress out of your life, namely financial stress, it's going to help you lose weight. It's going to help you be happier. It's just going to make life better for you. And yes, I apologize for talking so much. Go, Boston, take over.
And this is called passive income. It's money that you're making without doing any work. And if you look at the chart, all you have to do is put the money in the stock market, then over time, it'll make you more money. And then that money goes back into the stock market, and over time, it will make more money, and so on. And you can go on YouTube and see all these people promising you that you can make $50,000 a month in passive income by doing these things. But in my opinion, index investing or investing in the stock market is one of the only true forms of passive income. The other sources, you're going to have to work for like 10 years and then it will eventually become passive income. So let's go back to this chart and watch the flow of this. So like always, you work, you make money, emergency funds complete, you invest, and then continue on the rest. Work, make money, invest. Over and over. In index investing or investing in the stock market is not going to make you rich, but it is going to grow your money and help you fight inflation rather than just putting it in a savings account. And so if you look at the flow of this, it's a much more sustainable plan because if you lose your job, you now have the emergency fund to depend on and you have these investments. It's becoming much more sustainable. You don't have to worry about this vicious circle of living paycheck to paycheck and what's going to happen if you lose your job and you no longer have a paycheck. So now that you're becoming more financially secure, let's get a little bit creative and move on to the final step. Step 5, get creative and continue expanding. When you become less dependent on a paycheck by establishing an emergency fund and investing in the stock market, options start to open up because you're not as desperate anymore. Sure, you still need money, but you're always going to need money, and I think that you're always going to want to work too. It's more about doing work that you don't despise. And so at this point in our journey, you can be a little bit more creative. You can figure out new ways to generate income on your own terms. So let's look at the chart and see how this works. An extremely basic way is maybe a side hustle, like being an Uber driver to bring income outside of your normal job. Or you can consider starting a business. For example, I make money from this YouTube channel, which I use as income. And in this day and age, there are an infinite amount of possibilities to make money. You don't need a small loan of $1 million from daddy anymore. You just need to think outside the box. You have to be creative and figure it out on your own. And I don't claim to be the successful millionaire that has it all figured out, but I am learning a lot about this right now. It is very hard to figure out ways to make money outside of a paycheck. There's no instruction manual, but as tough as it is very cool to make money without depending on a paycheck. And so that is the system of how to manage your money without ever running out. Most people's financial situation looks like this: a vicious circle of make money, spend money, and need to make more money. But a more sustainable plan looks like this: adopt frugal habits to lower your expenses. Create your emergency fund. Start investing to grow your money. And start generating other forms of income. And so the system isn't dependent on one single source of income. You could afford to go without a paycheck every now and then because you have these other sources backing you up. And I could lie and tell you that I know how to make $50,000 in passive income, and you could do it too, but that doesn't help out anybody. This actually works. It's slow, it's boring, but if you take steps in your life today to develop a more sustainable plan and get out of this paycheck to paycheck vicious circle, you will never have to worry about going broke again. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. Video 109. Nos vemos, chico.
I love this kid. When I first started watching him, he didn't have as many gray hairs. The gray hairs just shows he's got a lot of wisdom, right? So check this out. Jesse, what are index funds? Index funds are kind of interesting. It's where you're actually betting on many of the top companies that are available to be invested into. So you're not really investing on, one-up startup companies. You're more investing in like Fortune 500 companies or whatever the index fund might entail. That is where you have to decide, do I want to get with a financial planner and learn this? If so, there's going to be fees. If you're willing to teach yourself and get an unmanaged account, like I said, through Vanguard or Fidelity or whatever the route you want to go, a lot of times you can teach yourself quite a bit just through investing a little time into some good YouTube videos. So I recommend going to Austin Williams, subscribing to his channel, obviously, because I think he's awesome. He's got some great ideas on top of this video on how you can actually save money. And in case you're wondering, is Austin the real deal? Guys, he found a way to save quite a bit of money making $8 an hour, making $10 an hour, making minimum wage. He's got uncanny skills at how you can save money. So if you really feel like you're hopeless in this regard, watch some Austin Williams videos and then maybe watch some Vanguard videos. But remember, your boy here isn't a financial guru. I just firmly believe that since you already love watching YouTube videos, why not teach yourself a little bit more about index funds? You can easily search it on YouTube or Google it to find out more. With that being said, my channel is about walking. So go grab your shoes. Let's go for a walk.
Good afternoon, Venters. I'm doing a little extra credit walk. Believe it or not, it's like 90 degrees, but I need to change these shoes. These shoes are a little too flat.
So this is a learning experience. If you're wearing Vans certain days just don't feel cushiony enough for me because they have no cushion. So I'll be right back. All right, so happy afternoon. Just doing a little extra credit. Wanted to tell you something that I've kind of known in my head, but I've never really expressed it before, but it's kind of fascinating. Everything fascinates me every now and again. In the mornings, it could be 74, 75 degrees, and I'll turn my back to the sun like I have it now, and it feels to me like it's just burning a hole in my shirt. You know, it feels extremely warm in the morning. But in the afternoon, early evening, when I go this way, even though now it's like 90 degrees right now, for some reason it doesn't burn a hole in my shirt and it doesn't feel nearly as hot. And I just find that kind of fascinating that technically speaking, it's 15 degrees warmer now than it was this morning. But this morning, right when that sun started hitting me on my back, it just felt like it was 100 degrees, you know? So something about the afternoons here in Arizona, they just, they feel kind of decent when they're in the high 80s, early 90s. Now, don't get me wrong, it's short-lived because it's going to be 1:15 here before you know it. Those will be the days where I'll wake up a little earlier to go walking and it'll already be in the 90s, I assure you. But I'm actually looking forward to it, you know? It's a challenge. It's something that that needs to be done anyway, so I might as well do it. And we'll be done with the 90-day challenge by then. We'll be on our second 90-day challenge. I was checking out one of my friends who became a YouTuber about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's so funny because I didn't really follow him too closely over the past year. I mean, I check in on him every once in a while, but he kind of had this magical situation where the first year or two, hardly any subscribers, hardly any views, but man, consistency. He just kind of stayed with it. And he's gotten to a point where he's got 23,000 subscribers, and he's got videos that every other video does really well. So he'll still have a video that occasionally doesn't do that great, but then the other video he'll do will have 2,000 to 5,000 views. Very, very cool. I think he got to monetize. We're not nearly as close as we were maybe 15 years ago, but we're still close enough where I want him to do well, you know? And I won't mention his YouTube channel or anything, but he basically does rap lyrics and stuff like that. So good for him. He does reactions to songs. So where I do reactions to videos on diets and stuff, he does reactions to songs. But his channel is actually a reaction channel, whereas mine, I still don't really consider it a reaction channel, which, you know, if you only watch the first 5 or 10 minutes, I guess that's what people consider it. But no one's telling you to watch the first 5 or 10 minutes. You can always fast forward to the walk. The walks aren't that bad. But you know, it is kind of metaphor for life. You have a lot of people that talk about walking, and when it comes down to actually getting out and doing it, once again, it doesn't matter what time of day you go out, it's pretty empty out on the streets. And that could be a number of reasons. You know, it could be video games. It could be, you know, people are at work and by the time they get home, they don't have the energy to walk. But I guess no matter how you slice or dice it, if you choose to walk, it's pretty peaceful out here, you know? I mean, if I were honest, I would rather walk in a neighborhood where everyone's inside and it's quiet than, you know, a loud neighborhood where everybody's hanging out outside, you know? So, you know, you can't have it both ways. If you want to enjoy the peacefulness of your walk, you know, you got to enjoy the fact that not a million people are out and about. But there's still that piece of me that wishes there were more people walking, you know? Because I think there's plenty of room. Definitely plenty of room out here to have more people walking. man, today what I'd like you to do, or at least for the next couple minutes, especially if you're on a walk, take a look at your neighbors' homes. It always amazes me because some homes don't necessarily look the best, right? But then some of them really look quaint and nice. Some of them are kind of oversized, but still beautiful in their own way. And then there is the occasional dumpster fire type of a home, you know? But they comprise the minority, you know, there's not too many. So it's not that big of a deal. If your neighborhood has a little park that you're able to go up to like mine does, that's kind of cool. I actually have about 2 or 3 different parks that I can take a walk to and get to all 3 of them within, you know, half hour or so. You know, I've been thinking, there's a lot more people doing 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day than I was given credit for, you know. Here I'm thinking that it's a big deal to do a half hour a day, and I get all these people, I'm doing 15,000 steps, you know. And I suppose if you look at it as in, you know, a straight line down a freeway, it seems a little crazy. But if you chop it up, and if it's you know, a walk that you're used to around your neighborhood, I could see how a lot of people could get to the point where they're walking quite a few steps a day. So maybe your boy's coming around, maybe there is something to keeping track of your steps. But I think we can all agree, all things being even, a walk outside is still superior to a walk inside, and there's no reason why you can't keep track of your steps outdoors anyway, you know? But I'll tell you what, if it's 115 degrees out here, don't be poking fun of me if you end up seeing me walking on a treadmill little treadmill inside. Holy moly, things can get real warm and uncomfortable out here real quick. So as you guys might have noticed, I busted out my standing desk. I like it. I like it. Now there's new troubles that come with that. For example, right now I just tried wearing my Vans and my feet were kind of a little sore. So I have kind of like an ottoman that I'm also able to kneel on, and you know, it's not that I can't sit, it's just at this point with the goals that I have for myself and for the show and just for staying out of the hospital and stuff, I'm just trying to avoid sitting for long periods of time. And at this point in my life, I think even 3 or 4 minutes is a long period of time if it means I'm risking getting an ingrown hair or a cyst or something. It's like, oh my God. That's my crux in life, guys. I have these little issues that are literal pains in the butt, you know? But you want to know something? I'm not special in that regard. There's a lot of people out there, you know, so I have trouble with my backside sometimes, right? But that's nothing. There's people that have a lot of troubles, you know? And if you have a lot of troubles, one thing that you try to do that I totally admire is you try to go through your day without making your troubles public knowledge and telling everybody every time you have a little sore here or there. And you know, I didn't really realize how admirable of a strength a lot of you people have until I started dealing with these little issues myself, you know. I think a lot of things push us towards towards becoming Archie Bunker, right? Or George Jefferson, right? We have these things these pressures and these irritations that as we get older, they sometimes become chronic. And some of us suffer in misery and let everyone know about it. And some of us suffer well. And so the reality is I'd like to be like those that suffer well, where, you know, you don't necessarily have to have everybody be doom and gloom every time you're feeling bad. So by getting myself a standing desk, by wearing shoes that are a little bit more comfortable on my walks, because I don't really recommend that you walk with with vans anyway, you know? You just put yourself in a spot where nothing's gonna hold you back. That's really what life's about for me going forward, guys. I really wanna practice what I preach, and one of the things that I really preach about is that when you're on your walk, you can come up with a lot of game plans for things, and what better game plan if you're having trouble with your backside than to get a standing desk, you know? What better type of YouTube channel for a guy that has trouble sitting down than one where you're standing and walking, you know? And if me walking around the block with a camera makes it where you and others can lose a couple of pounds with me, hey, now I'm doing something good. That's good. Now, if only I could get like my buddy and get to the point where I could do YouTube full time. Jesse, what would you do if you could do YouTube full time? I don't know, I would probably go for 2 walks a day, you know? So if you think the show's boring, you'll think it's doubly boring. What do you think of them apples? No, I love walking, and I think there's one thing I did wrong with this channel. And I think it's the good thing some days, but I go back and forth on it. I still wish I would have tried to find a way to get all my ducks lined up in a row early to do the show a little bit earlier. But again, I didn't know my computer would be so old and slow me down. But if I had that extra 2 weeks in, I wonder what life would be like, right? Be interesting. Life's all about timing. You know, there's a chance that some of my really good listeners and viewers wouldn't have been there to watch me. So it's weird. I know that with other fitness channels, you have unique dynamics, right? Sometimes they're weightlifting channels. They might talk about supplements, right? They might talk about workout routines. They might have guests on that are former Olympic weightlifters or bodybuilders, right? And then there's people that do yoga and Pilates, and they might be going over the different downward dogs and different moves and stuff, right? And then there's this guy like me where I like to walk with people, and I'm not really concerned about what diet you do as long as you try to do something reasonable, right? But if you walk with me, drink water with me, and avoid sugar with me, I have a feeling your diet will kind of take care of itself. But at the same time, we don't want to be naive. There are people that are in fantastic shape that still die of heart attacks and strokes, you know? So the key is, can we get to the point where that's not us, you know? And so when I'm watching these diets, I can't help but think that in the short term, these meat-eating diets, the carnivore and the keto, seem really, really strong, you know? But it looks like long-term, it looks like diets like the vegan and the Mediterranean diet seem a little bit better, right? And there's this one guy, I think his name is Veggie Chompers or whatever. I'm thinking about doing a video on him tonight. He does an interesting surplus of all the different gurus from the different diets. And he kind of marks down like which ones died in their 30s, 40s, and 50s compared to which ones died in like their 80s and 90s, you know? And when he's doing this chart and this graph, you start to notice something really quickly. A lot of the vegans and vegetarians and people that are eating largely plant-based diets, a lot of their gurus and well-known actors and stuff, a lot of them end up living well into their 90s. Like Seventh-day Adventist type people, right? And for those carnivores and Atkins diets and this, that, and the other, a lot of those doctors die in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, which, let's be honest, any Tom, Dick, or Harry could make it that far or die at those ages, you know? God, I have a whole laundry list of friends and family who made it to those ages without doing anything, you know? So it really makes you think, and it's like, hey, you know, I don't care how much thinking I do. I don't think I want to go vegetarian, you know? Because I don't think I would enjoy life very much if I was pure vegetarian. And I know that's probably making a vegetarian roll their eyes, right? But it really is true in my case. I like to be able to enjoy my food. I always have. I always will. If I didn't gain weight and if I was muscular like heck, I probably would eat every gnarly, gross thing that I could, because those things taste good to me, you know? I love cereals, I love sweets, but I also love sour foods too, right? You know, I'll take a pizza, sure, no problem. A lot of those things have always tasted really good to me. I've always viewed a lot of those foods as treats, because when I was growing up, we were pretty poor, and so we didn't necessarily have a lot of those yummy treats to enjoy, you know? I think that's why I'm such a cereal eater, because even if you're poor, you usually have a bowl of cereal, you know, in your house, or a box of cereal in your house. And so cereal was kind of like the poor man's dessert. Even as an adult, I can't tell you how many times I was pretty broke after paying rent or something, and so I'm eating a bowl of, you know, Fruity Pebbles or whatever the case might be. So there's some comfort there, you know. There have been times in my life as a kid and an adult where if not for Captain Crunch, I wouldn't have had anybody there for me, you know. That's kind of what makes the internet kind of a soothing friend. You know, even if you're super lonely, you can get on YouTube and you can visit some YouTubers that you enjoy, and before you know it, you're laughing and having a good time again, you know? I think that somewhere along the line, we kind of lost our love for TV. We still like TV. I'm sure each of us still clocks in a couple hours where we watch TV, but it's really easy to really get hooked on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and everybody's a little different. I have a lot of friends that are just constantly on Facebook, but Facebook doesn't really do it for me, because all it is a lot of people taking selfies of themselves, and that just doesn't really appeal to me too much, you know? I'm like you, or at least I think I'm like you, from the standpoint of, out of all those 4 choices, including X, I like YouTube. When I hear these stories that people like TikTok because Americans are losing their ability to stay focused, right? They have a very small attention before they run into their attention deficit disorders, right? I'm not that way. If I like a video, I can watch it for an hour. Every now and then I'll get a video that I'm really into, and I'm pumped because it's an hour and 45 minutes. I like longer videos, you know? That's what I'm into. So when I go to TikTok, which I very, very rarely do, I usually go to TikTok because somebody shared a video with me or something. But when I go to TikTok, you know, you watch something and it's over in 12 or 15 seconds, or, you know, they've got the occasional video that's a tiny bit longer now. But those ones just kind of irritate me. And it's funny, I can't tell you how many times I'm watching a little short on YouTube or a TikTok video, and you're really into it, right? Even though it's only a handful of seconds long. And then they loop it in such a way where you don't even realize that, you know, you're watching the same thing twice. And a lot of times you end up watching the same little video 3 or 4 times, you know, because maybe you had to walk away from your phone, and it just kind of makes the views seem a little bit less legit. But you know, what's interesting is I think YouTube is the same way at the beginning. I think a lot of times people will click on a video and they give that video about 15 seconds to either keep them engaged or or they're hanging up the phone, so to speak. And I don't know why people are like that, but you know, maybe that's just the problem with people in general. I was watching a video the other day where the kids were complaining. So it was one of these videos. Well, guys, it's about 6:30 in the evening, Arizona time, and I thought I would get in a little extra credit. So before my surgeries and stuff, I didn't really take all these walks and call them extra credit. I just took a constant number of walks. I've always really enjoyed walking. And I know some of you guys are really getting into it as well. I think the key is that first couple of weeks, don't you guys? You got to really allow yourself to just enjoy being by yourself, feeling the wind in your face, and just, kind of feeling what it's like to not always be in a car. A lot of times that's the problem with the world that we are living in right nowadays. What I mean by that is, you have 6 or 7 hours during the day where you're sitting down at your job, and then you come home and you've got another 4 or 5 hours where you sit on the couch or lay in bed watching TV, And even when you do leave the house to run an errand or something, 99.9% of the time, you're going to be sitting down in your car, right? Whether it's a car, truck, minivan, whatever the case might be, you're always going to be in a situation where you're not really doing anything, And if that's the case, we got to change that, guys. We got to change that. What's the easiest thing I could do, Jesse? Go adopt a dog. A month and a half ago, I was iffy on dogs because I know dogs like to stop and sniff their surroundings. But I think the reality is that's only if you allow them to, If you train them that, hey, we're not going to sniff right now, we're going to walk. And then when we get done with our walk, maybe we can sneak out by the park and you can sniff trees all you want, Fido. But the point is you can always train your dog to be a really good walking partner with you, And if your dog likes to stop every 2 or 3 homes, I don't think that's going to totally kill your walk, Just make sure your dog knows that part of the walk is that you're going to be moving, And if your dog doesn't handle walking by, houses in the neighborhood well, maybe you could take your dog to the park and walk around the park with the dog. Dogs have this endless amount of energy. It really is amazing. Dogs and wolves have the ability to run for like 30 miles in a row without stopping. Could you imagine that? If your dog was just trailing behind your vehicle, right, going 30 miles per hour, and could you imagine if he was able to do that for 30 miles in a row? Just amazing. Such amazing animals are dogs and cats. They say that your cat is probably faster than the world's fastest human. So when your cat's sprinting at full speed, you never realize it, but they are really, really booking it. And I could be wrong on that, but I think I heard somewhere that your average dog and your average cat are much faster than your fastest humans. So I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate, but I've definitely heard it a time or two. We'll have to look that up together. The main thing is whether you're walking with a friend or you're walking alone, there's never really a bad time to walk. I take that back. If you're out walking at 2 or 3 in the morning, that's a little sketchy. It's not that you're sketchy. I'm sure you can handle walking at 2 or 3 in the morning, but there might be some sketchy characters that are out at that time. So I don't know if that's really a great time to walk. But I'll tell you what, 6:30, early evening time, right when the sun's going down, and all of a sudden the breeze kicks up. Oh my God, guys, it doesn't get any better than this. I don't think those guys that are lifting weights in the gym ever experience moments like this. Do they break their own personal records and feel great about it? Of course. Do they see their body get bigger and transform? Of course. But do they ever just kind of take time to appreciate the experience? Probably not. I'm sure you can find 1 or 2 gym rats that absolutely love everything about it, right? But if you could get a gym rat that would walk to the gym, then I would say they've got the perfect scenario, right? I absolutely love this. I can honestly say that I've probably done more walks than I can even count because of the fact that I do more than one walk a day, you know? It's almost impossible for the body to remain real big if you're a constant walker. Now, don't get me wrong, you might be on day 50, right? And you might be thinking, my God, I haven't lost very much weight, but just ask yourself this: if you had been doing this not for the last 50 days, but for the last 20 or 25 years, you know, how impressive would your body look? You know, it's weird. I'm never thinking about food when I'm out walking. I know the very first couple videos I brought it up, but that was mainly so we didn't have a mental hang up on it. I'm not a big fan of out of sight, out of mind when it comes to food, right? But at the same time, I don't really think about food. And that was only 50 days ago that I was constantly thinking about sugar and stuff, right? And all of a sudden I've gone 2, 3, 4 weeks without any sugar at all. And before that I was eating, you know, a banana, strategically eating a banana, because I knew that you can get to the point where you're kind of sick and tired of bananas. So you can literally ditch the banana and get in the situation I'm in now, where I'm eating a boring bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. Half the time I take it or leave it. I'm doing a morning walk every day, but 2/3 of the time I'm doing an evening walk as well. I also walk to the store daily, probably 6 or 7 days a week. Drink nothing but water. The other day you might have seen me drinking tea. I assure you that was the unsweetened variety. You know, so even there, I don't taste sugar in unsweetened tea, but I can taste the tea. So it's slightly different than the taste of water. You know, you can still try different things. And even if I were to drink some sweetened tea, the key is to switch right back to unsweetened tea. But don't worry, I didn't drink any sweetened tea. I'm just a firm believer that all through your life, you're going to have not one, not two, but thousands of opportunities to eat sweet stuff. And so, you know, you just got to get used to kind of taking it or leaving it. And that's a real powerful statement if you think about it. If you can get to the point where you can take it or leave it when it comes to sweets, oh my God, you're going to have sweets conquered. You know, even when I went above and beyond and started eating sweets like crazy when I was recovering from my surgery, that was really just boredom, you know? If I wouldn't have had the wound on my tailbone, and if I could have walked for 2 or 3 hours without, you know, nastiness coming out, because I had a surgery that they didn't sew me up at the end. They kept it as an open wound because that way it can heal from the bone up. It was really a gnarly surgery. Maybe one of these days I'll show you guys the picture that I took of it. It's very crazy looking. But you know, those were legitimate reasons for me to feel down. And when I felt down and was completely bored for months on end, yeah, I decided to eat some ice cream, maybe even a lot of ice cream. I decided to eat the Cheerios, the Apple Jacks, rather than the Cheerios. You know, I decided to do frosted mini wheats, which are delicious as all heck, you know, rather than corn flakes. But at the same time, right when I was able to start walking, I caught myself. Here's the interesting thing. I was about 182 pounds, maybe 181. And then what happened is I had a situation where I had to upgrade my computer before I could officially start the show. And in that extra week and a half or so, I ended up gaining another like 4 or 5 pounds because I ended up being like 184 to 186, somewhere in that zone. So even that was like a curveball that I wasn't really expecting, because I'm telling you guys, it's easier to lose weight at 180 than it is at 185 or 186, you know? Because the first thing that happens when you start dieting is you start making a final point. And what I mean by that is, okay, I was 185 when I started my diet. Because I started dieting right then and there, I was able to keep that final point there at 185 or 186. If I wouldn't have stopped eating poorly and if I wouldn't have started exercising at that point, it probably would have been very easy for me to get up to 190. you got to remember it's very rare that a person just stays at a certain weight forever. Does it happen? Of course. We get to a point where we stay around our average. But if you're not going down in weight, it's really tough to just keep and maintain a certain weight. It's more than likely that you'll actually start gaining weight, especially if you're eating poorly like I was. So if I don't stop when I did and get started with the channel, God, I might have been doing it a week or two later at 195. And I know if I would have done it a week or two earlier, I would have been closer to 181 rather than 185. And I'm telling you, getting rid of those extra 4 or 5 pounds, not easy. So when you weigh 200 plus, and maybe you're a female that's only 5 foot tall, right? I feel for you. I know that it's challenging. That's why I'm so proud that I have so many of you that are taking on this challenge. Sometimes it's not easy when you hear one of us losing 15 or 16 pounds while you yourself might be just broken even, right? But you want to know something? If you wouldn't have maintained your weight where you were with all this walking and drinking water and avoiding sugar, who's to say you wouldn't have actually gained another 3 or 4 pounds? I bet you didn't think of that, did you? But that's truthful, guys. If I would have had another week or two before I started this challenge, I have a feeling I would have gotten up to 190 or maybe 195. And every time you guys walk and you look at the scale and it hasn't changed, just know that there's something nice about maintaining when compared to actually gaining more than ever, you know? And you don't know where you would have stopped. There's a reason you wanted to start walking. It's because you felt like you were getting bigger and like you were gaining weight. Not many people just walk because, you know, my body weight never changes. No, it's because you're getting bigger. So remember, sometimes just stopping the bleeding is a win. There's a lot of wins. You just have to get used to seeing the victory in things that might not come across as a victory. We've talked about if your shorts and things feel more loose, right? That's a victory, that's a win. If you don't like the idea of walking alone and you like the idea of us keeping each other accountable by saying hello, good morning, enjoy your walk, right? Those are wins. Now you have a team, right? Not only are you struggling to lose weight, but so is your boy here, right? It can really feel like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Gosh, I walk forever, Jesse. I haven't lost anything yet. Well, the key word is yet. We're gonna start taking it up a notch. Instead of eating when it gets dark out, maybe we should all hold each other accountable and maybe stop our last meal, you know, with the last bit of sunlight. So if the sun goes down at 7:30, maybe we should hold each other accountable and decide, hey, we're not gonna eat once it gets dark out. That'll be that next step. Let me know if you're game and you want to do that, and I'll do it with you, and we'll all do it together. It'll basically be, we'll do nothing special or different other than once the lights go out on the world, we'll stop eating for the night. Tell me what you think of that idea. We'll talk soon. Have a great day.